Thanks for joining us. Charges could be coming as early as tomorrow after a series of crimes spanning the Minnesota-Wisconsin border.
It started with a stabbing in Duluth and ended with a police chase and gunfire in Superior.
Northern News Now's Briggs LaSavage has been following this story for us today. Briggs, you heard from an expert in law enforcement this afternoon. What do they have to say?
Dan and Laura, while this all originated in Duluth, Superior police officers were the ones who carried out that high-risk traffic stop with an armed suspect last night. While we're still waiting on charging documents to explain more of what played out, we spoke to a law enforcement expert today about the changing dynamics in the field and the impact it's having on community safety. Last night's incident all started in Duluth's Lincoln Park neighborhood around 7:50 when officers responded to Exeter Street and 29th Avenue West. They learned 3 people there had been in an argument when one man allegedly stabbed another man in the hand. Police say 2 suspects drove away from this scene in Lincoln Park, and then about a half an hour later in Superior's East End, police spotted that vehicle and tried to pull the suspects over near East 4th Street and 22nd Avenue. They say the driver followed commands at first, but then ran back into the vehicle and led police on a short chase. Eventually, near 17th Avenue East, that vehicle stopped, and officers say they heard a single gunshot come from inside the car. Luckily, no one was hit. Police eventually arrested the 2 suspects, the driver and the passenger, who are both in their mid-30s and from Lake Nebegamin. Another person in the car, Superior Police say, was taken to the hospital for a minor injury. While no officers fired their weapons during this incident, Superior's police chief says it highlights the risk they face on the job every day, pointing to 2 officer-involved shootings in Superior since December, in which he says his officers feared for their safety. A law enforcement expert we spoke with today says there are 2 kinds of instances that pose a specific danger to police. That's traffic stops and domestic calls. He says people willing to commit a crime sometimes are fueled by what they see online.
They've just seen a lot more aggression reaction by citizens, and there's an indirect message there that it's become more acceptable not to cooperate with police.
And again, we'll learn more about the incidents in Duluth and Superior when charging documents are filed in their respective cities. A big question we still have, though, is what that gunfire from inside the vehicle was all about. Superior police say they did find a firearm on scene, and it did not have a serial number on it. At least one of the suspects is expected to be charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm. In studio, Briggs LaSavage, Northern News Now.